What is it that we're going to cover today? How to enter a directional trade. Directional is I'm going to buy a call or a put option. So when do I buy that call and that put option? What instrument do I trade? I will give you the heads up. I started with stocks. That is how I started. That's how I made all my money. The number of indices that we now have are so many that it is now my preference. How should I calculate by how much that index can move? And that really should say index because the stocks calculation is very, very different. And how much time am I looking to be in the trade? How do I determine when to exit? Remember, we always have exit strategies, and they're going to be based on always two components. Either my price target is hit or my time frame of being in the trade has arrived. When should I consider passing on this trade? There are always, in every style of trading, going to be certain potential minefields that can kapoosh your trading account. So we need to know when these are. And I would have to say, truly, there's really one that I shudder at, but the second one I can mitigate. I hope that that was easy and cool enough to explain. Let's go ahead and let's review. It's a cool way of generating wealth, trading directionally, and this was my first style of trading. I had a full-time job. So I would place a trade, I would give it a few weeks, and then I would, and actually I had said earlier my trade was Yahoo. That was not. The first trade where I took 10,000 and made 22,000 was Home Depot. Then I took 18,000 of that 22 and bought call options on Yahoo. But this is how I did it. This is exactly how I did it. Nothing has changed in all those years, except again, the calculations and the fact that we have a lot more flexibility in the options. Now, while I did begin with stocks, my preference really is to use index. And I think that when you get used to doing index and indice, I think you will initially enjoy it. Yeah, and then later on, maybe you'll want to add stocks because you saw what happened. Once the spiders got above the 22, it could stay there for 30 days. So you don't have a trade, but you can go ahead and then maybe look at a stock and maybe capitalize on that. Just know that stocks carry a little bit more risk because the analyst can upgrade them, an analyst can downgrade them. The stock can be impacted by earnings, the potential of coming earnings. The CEO is pre-warning. Any boatload of data can impact. Now, I will also say this, if you are inclined to do a stock, there are two sectors that you cannot do. And those two sectors are the airline sectors and drug stocks. Those two you must pass on, which really surprised me because I know that recently Mr. Warren, I got that from Mr. Warren Buffett, at least the airline parts. He never liked airline stocks. He always thought it was like, risky. So it surprised me that he went out and bought a lot of shares of Delta Airlines, I think Southwest Airlines, all these airlines, and recently had to close them all out and took, I think, like a $50 billion loss on these airline stocks. They're risky. There's a lot of things that impacts them. And same thing with drug stocks. One day people love them, they're curing cancer, they're curing all sorts of issues, and then the next day they're killing people. So nobody, one day they're love, hate, love, hate, love, hate. And those don't make for good, consistent potential. Those are the ones you do hedged, as a matter of fact. But for me, I started with stocks, but I think that maybe trading an index for you initially may make better sense because you don't have all those other elements to have to deal with. Make your money first, then if you're inclined to trade a stock, you can do so. And if an analyst comes out and says, we don't like that stock, and the stock opens lower and you're in a call option, then at least you now know how to protect yourself. I'm going to go at least 3 weeks of time, but I have to say this, you don't always hold it to the 3 weeks, and I will definitely be out when my target is reached or prior to the expiration. And people know, well, how will you know what that option is going to be going for? It's called the options calculator. And what I do is I actually run the options calculator. I'll put down the price, my price target of, I guess, 305. And then I'll put down my strike price of 320. And then I'll put down the current volatility of the VXO. That's what I'm using. And then what I'll do is I will start out with about 20 or 21 days to expiration. That's the flexibility I typically get with the spiders because they do have expirations Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But what I then do is I take away I leave 3 days to expiration. And then I want to see, well, if I have to hold it 3 days to expiration, what would that option be going for? So I hold it like 3 days I put down 3 days to expiration. I want to see what is it going for? And if it's going for $15, that's my target. I buy the option for $7. I put a target of $15. I leave it alone. And then as it's starting to approach my third week, I should be out or I want to close it out. Isn't that the coolest thing? Now, I recognize that I am directional and I have to be mindful of non-farm payroll events. Non-farm payroll, I typically can mitigate by buying a counter option that expires maybe Monday. Buying the one on Friday, probably not a good idea, but maybe Monday is a better idea. And then FOMC events, they are totally hit or miss. I mean, with the FOMC, it seems as though the stock follows the trend of the non-farm payroll event. Not always, but it can. FOMC, total toss of the dice. Now, when trading stocks, remember to avoid holding them through the earnings announcement. That will be a disaster, a potential disaster, and that would be an understatement.